Hey guys, Jess Halleck here. Today we're gonna go over something you've been asking for a couple years now, and I've just really been dragging my feet because it's a little tricky. But my lash extensions. I've been wearing lash extensions, well, permanent ones, for 7 years, and then a couple years ago I switched because I was having a lot of allergic reactions to the glue. I didn't have time to go in and get my fills done regularly and just wanted something a little bit easier. So I switched to FlutterHabit Lashes. I love them. Let me just put that out there. It's been, like I said, a few years, and they've really evolved the different lashes that they're offering. So that's been fun because when I first started wearing them, there was 6 different lash styles. But now, because of the different styles, I actually pair them up, which makes it unique because you can wear these just as is, like a single set, no problem. But I like to stack mine because I'm used to the lash extension, like permanent line look. So I like an extra full. So I wanted to show you how I do that today because it's just a little bit different than if you were to just do the normal set. So the 2 styles, or the 2 types of lashes they have 2 different categories. Their classics are, there's like 6 different styles. Personally, I love, if you were to order a full collection, they have this for this style and for the other style. So you can try one of each. So they come with one, normally this is the set. They come with 6 lash sets, which would last you, I mean, for me, this is 1 week at a time. So this lasts a really long time. Because I double them up, they do go a little bit quicker, but this would easily last you 6 weeks. So these are the 6 different lash styles. They go from like subtle to more dramatic. And then about a year ago, they came out with a weightless collection. So that means the biggest difference is in the band. So the band on the classics are a little bit heavier. I didn't feel like it was heavy whatsoever until they came out with the weightless collection. And then the difference was like, oh, well, duh, this is amazing. So I have really fragile lashes. I'm in lash rehab from doing so many years of permanent ones that I wanted something really gentle on my lashes. So the weightless is personally what I switched to, but I'm going to be layering them with one of the classic sets. So this is the normal set. Then this is the weightless collection. So they made them to mirror the classics, but they're a little bit fuller, a little bit longer, a little more dramatic, but the band is so thin and weightless. It's made a huge difference to where I can double them up. I wouldn't personally recommend doubling up this style if your lashes are fragile. Clearly my lashes are blonde. I am so jealous. All my kids have dark brown lashes and I'm like, you are so blessed, you don't even know. So I have to wear mascara or something for it to look, like I'm not like a ghost. So I've been wearing lash extensions for a really long time. Okay, so the pair that I'm going to demonstrate today is gonna be the weightless 3s. This is clearly my box. I'm on my last set. So the weightless, this one is a really full curl. It's I wanna say it's a D curl, where it's like a curlier lash. If you've ever gotten permanent ones done, you know the difference of the C curl, D curl. So this is the curlier style. And to pair it, I match the same curl shape, but in a more lightweight version. So these are the Sweethearts. A similar lash to this in their collection is called the Flirt, and it's a really full version of this. So a lot of people when they're first starting out maybe don't wanna go full glam, and they'll start with this one personally, just because it's a really easy style to put on. And it's very like, I don't know the word. I like want to go like this when I wear it. It's just cute. The lashes aren't super long, so it's great to stack with. So these, you can see them side by side. Similar style, just one is super full and one is shorter and more sparse. Okay, the next thing I want to point out is which lashes you go with has nothing to do with which glue you choose. I feel like a lot of people have given up on brands of lashes because they're like, oh, they didn't stay on really well. And that could be the lash for sure, but it also could be the glue that you're using. So FlutterHabit does have their own glue. It's called Made for This. It's this one. And they do have it in black and clear. Personally, just because of the way my eyelids are, I'm more oily, I guess you could say, I don't prefer this glue unless I'm going somewhere really humid. This glue dries really quick, which for someone who's really new, that's super helpful because you're usually a little bit more antsy to like get going. But personally, I only use this when it's more humid outside. I don't know why, but for my personal preference, that's what I prefer. I live in Arizona. So everything is really dry, the air is really dry. So I like the Lash Lock glue. This is actually the glue that they used to have as the only option on their website. And then they switched and made their own. So this one is a little bit tackier, takes a little bit longer to set, but over, you know, for me to go longer, and this is personal preference. Like my friends will do the made for this glue and they can wear them for 7 to 10 days. I use this glue and that's the result that I get. So just because if you have a favorite glue that you like to use with a different lash line, then still use that glue. It doesn't matter. You can even use the kind with the brush on. There's a lot of options. So you're gonna have your glue. You're also gonna have little tiny scissors to trim the ends if you need to, because everyone's eye shape is different. I feel like I have bigger eyes, but someone else could have like smaller eyes or even bigger, and they just like them to sit differently. The other thing is a lash curler, because we'll need that to start, and then good tweezers. So there's different kinds of lash tweezers they kind of look like a slight U shape, and you can use those to put on your lashes. I think that's honestly 10 times easier than using this kind. They're just hard to get. So I'm gonna find a pair that I can link for you, because especially in the beginning, I feel like that's easier. These are just my go-to because I have a bunch of these lying around in my car, in my house, and if I ever need it, I just have it. Okay, so here we go. I do have 2 cameras set up so you can get some up close of me putting them on, because that's what makes this tricky, is that I'm like, I can show you what to do, but like you can't really get up in there. So I'm gonna show you. Okay, first things first. So when you open the box, it's like this. However, I'm gonna put it down in front of me because this is the direction of the order that they go in. This is the inner, this is the outer. I feel like that was a little confusing at first. When I first got them, I was like, wait, which way do I go? So I'm gonna start with my bottom line first, and then I'll stack the sweethearts on top. Okay, here we go. So I feel like what makes the experience go just a little bit smoother is if you prep everything properly, so then you're not like, oh wait, I need glue, then I need to cut it, then I need to set it out, and this is stuck, and blah, blah, blah. I just like to make it simple. I have 3 kids, and I usually get distracted halfway through doing this, that I can't this can't involve too much concentration, because then it just won't be a good experience for me. As you can see, they have little bunches. So every set has a different pattern of how they're separated. Personally, well, actually, it just is personal preference. It's not like there's necessarily a right or wrong way to have these bunched. I have friends that do like 2 bunches at a time, some that like to keep them the full, exactly how they're cut up, but you'll see when I grab the sweethearts, they're slightly different. So what I'm doing is I'm peeling them off this tray, and then I'm just wiping off the sticky glue stuff that's on the back of it, just so it's totally clean. Okay, I just set them down in front of me and laid them out, and I don't like to personally take off both sets at the same time. I just do one at a time, so I'm very clear where I'm at in this process. Then, if you're using the Lash Lock glue, it does need a minute to get a little bit tacky. Otherwise, it's just too runny and you'll kind of have a hard time placing it and it's sliding around. So I like to squeeze this out. I've just placed out my lashes. I'm gonna squeeze a dot of this out. There's many different ways you can do this, and it's totally personal preference. I like to squeeze out just a little bit. That much. So just a dot, and this much will get me through all the lashes on this bottom lash line. So I set that out, and I'm just gonna let it get tacky. Then I switch to my lash curler. So using my lash curler, I'm just gonna curl the one side. So you can use any lash curler. I personally, ever since I was probably 12, have used the Revlon lash curlers. I don't know why, but they're really great. I just go with what I know. Okay, then if you want to practice before you place them, I'm using this type of a tweezer. This is really easy to find. This is what you get at like a drugstore, anywhere. But the flat tip, you don't want the pointy tip, but more of a flat style is definitely what you want. So I will grab the lashes and I'll just kind of pretend to place it without any glue of where I want it to go. Yep, okay. Just so I'm not like figuring this out and stressed about the glue and all of that. Okay, next step. Just know it's all gonna be okay, guys. Okay, so you are gonna be placing these under your lash line, which means the glue needs to go on top of the lash right here. And I think less is more. So this is what I'm looking for. So you really only want like a bead, a thin bead of glue on top of it. And everyone's lash is different, or like eyelid is different of what works best. we're working with. So it's already drying. Okay, first one is placed. If you are a shaky person like me, make sure you're on like a counter or something. You can place your elbow gently. If you need to hold onto your arm at the same time so that you can be a little bit like smoother with everything, then do that. If you're trying to freehand it, I can't imagine freehanding it. Like the people that can do this in a car, I'm like, whoa, that's impressive because I can't do that. So then you're gonna move on to the next lash. And I personally like them, you want them to sit right up against each other, and that's why it's your first time, you'll be deciding like based on your eye shape, what that looks like for you. So pay attention to how your glue is moving when you're putting it on the lashes. If it looks like, if it's dragging along the strip and like it's carrying the glue with it, then that means your glue is already too dry to use. So you want it to like sit on there just fine, but you don't want it to, you don't want too much or too little. You know what I mean when you start placing it. So I just let it get a little bit tacky. And I'm gonna go right up and I'm gonna kiss this up to the one that I just placed. And I will say, if you can, don't touch them right after you place them so that they can kind of set. My glue is already drying, mainly because I'm talking and I don't normally take this long. So I'm gonna squeeze out a new drop and kind of let that set for a second. Also, the room that you're in does matter. So like at home, I think I have more humidity in my house, and this does not dry nearly as quick. But right now I'm in a room in my salon and it's drying super fast. So I know that the air is probably a little bit thinner, drier in here, and that's why it's drying so quickly. So I'm just gonna move a little bit quicker because we are gonna stack them anyway, just so you can see what it looks like. When you grab the lash though, especially if it's a longer lash, make sure that you grab it kind of low on there. See? Because if you grab too high, you're not gonna have enough control of where to place it. And where I'm placing it on my lash line is not, so you have your water line, right? And then you have where your lashes start. If you can place it as close to your water line as you can, that's best case scenario. I definitely know people that just put it right on their water line. It's just their preference. Everyone's eyes are different how you react to the glue. And also it's just a little bit nerve-wracking your first time. Okay, last one. I'm doing the inner corner. So if you're gonna trim one, most likely it's gonna be the inner corner or the outer. I like to start from the outside and go in, so I usually end up trimming the inside. And the way that I know if I'm gonna need to trim it, because every time is different, where like if I place them really close together or if they're slightly further apart for my eye shape, that might depend if I have to trim this down a little bit. So I just like pretend. So when I go to place this, it looks like it's gonna be fine. So I'm just gonna trim off, there's like little bit of the strip hanging off on the end, and you know, when it's your eyeball, every little millimeter matters. So I'm just gonna trim that little piece off. And this one is tapered, so it shouldn't bother the inside of your eye or like the inner corner. When I get to my inner corner, I probably do a little bit less glue there than I do on the other lashes. I just had better experience with that for my own lash line, but maybe different for you. So just a little tip. I get really excited if I can put all of them on the same way without having to trim any, because I just like the natural shape. Then I'll kind of let this one set, and I'm gonna switch to my other eye. I'm gonna do that one really fast because you don't need to watch every little detail. Okay, now I have both sides on. This side took me a whole, I don't know, 4 minutes to do it because I wasn't talking through it. So I will say this does not normally take as long. I'm just going slow for you guys. This one is still setting. Just like when you get your nails done, they'll like file one side, file the other side, then they'll come back and paint one side, then paint the other side. I do the same thing just because then this side is really dry and set so that I can stack them. You can totally stop here. Like I wear these like this all the time. It's just if you want to stack them, then I'm gonna show you how to do that. But you could wear them just like this and be totally fine. These are, like I said, they're still setting. Let's talk worst case scenario. So if you get glue in your eye, this is probably not recommended by any optometrist, but I'm just gonna tell you what I do. So I always put I have to have my contacts in when I put them on because I can't see, right? So one benefit of having your contacts in is if you happen to get a dot of glue in your eye, it goes on the contact, you just kind of blink it out, and then it'll always move to the corners. So you can grab a little Q-tip and just grab it, and it comes right off. But if it got in your eye and it was really bothering you, I would still recommend just blink, 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 try to stay calm. And then when it goes to the corner, just grab a Q-tip and it'll grab onto this so easy. And as soon as it's out of your eye, it should stop bothering you. Personally, the glue doesn't make my eyes burn at all, but I won't say that it won't for you. So that's my disclaimer. It does happen though. And the reason it happens is if you get too close to your water line, and then because it's a water line, it'll grab the glue and bring it into your eyeball. So don't panic. That's my biggest set of advice. But if it's happening a lot, then I would put less glue on your strip, just so it's less likely that it's going to happen, or at least less glue is on there. Okay, I'm feeling good. These feel good. And also just, I did trim my inner corner on this side. I don't know why, if it's just the way that I put them on every time, it's just what happens, or if I have a smaller eye on this side, I have no idea. But I usually have to trim the inner corner on this strip versus the other. No clue. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to my sweethearts. So they were in the box like this, where the window is, and I'm facing it. The window should be at the top if you're holding it in front of you. That's how the lashes go. So, okay, so I'm switching to my sweethearts. I pulled them out of the box. You can look at which direction you want them to go. The sweethearts, and I'd say most of the lashes, it's really easy to see which side is the inside and which is the out, because the inside will always taper a lot in the lashes. So when I brick lay them or I stack them on top, I don't use a full new strip. I use 2 to 3 bunches, just depending on the look I'm wanting. But one reason why I started stacking them in the first place is there's certain ones that on my eye, I don't love the shape because they kind of separate funny. And so when I would brick lay them, basically brick lay means where the two meet, I put one right on top, like how a brick would be. Because then it would close the gap. So I'm like, what the heck? They're like splitting, and my friend's doing it. It looks perfect. I don't know. It's just my eyeball. So then I would stack them and it would fill in the gaps and it actually looked really good. So that's how it came about. But if you just like a really full look, then this is still what you'd want to do. But I am going to follow the order that they're set in the lineup, but you can change them out. Like some people, if you like a cat eye and this is more of a doll look, then you can rearrange them to look more cat eye. So this style specifically is more of a doll shape, but another pair that I do is a cat eye, and I'll show you those two because I probably rotate evenly between the two. Okay, so this is different, but I will say stacking them is easy. The hardest part is putting on your under lash line, and then the stacking is a piece of cake. Piece of cake. So instead of putting the glue on the top of the line because we're going under, now I'm gonna flip it and put the glue on the flip side of the strip because I'm placing it on top. Also, just to play with how I want to place them, I will use a mirror and pretend where I'm gonna place it to make sure that's where I want it to go. If you're going to pair some, my only recommendation is that you do the longer set on the bottom and the shorter set on top, just because then it makes the base of the lash look really full and the wispies are just they're more subtle. Because if you set it on top, even though it's slightly above where you started the underneath ones, they don't look real. I mean, they don't look real in general, but they look really fake. So I wouldn't even match, I wouldn't even do the number 3s with the flirts, which is the matching style. That's why I go with the sweetheart, because it's slightly shorter, slightly less, and it just looks better in my opinion. So I'm still gonna go one at a time. I know personally I'm gonna use 2 to 3 bunches, and that still just kind of varies on the day. So I'm gonna prep just a few for the one side. Also, when I'm sitting next to a mirror, don't be afraid to get really, really, really close to a mirror. If your closest mirror is on the floor in your closet, then do that. Although I would sit next to really good lighting. I like to do this in a natural light area because I want a lot of light up to it. But if you use a mirror like this, it's a swivel, you can get right up under and you can see your what you're doing a lot better. So like I said, I have blonde eyelashes, so those things really matter because I can't see my eyelashes unless I have a really good mirror going on. So you might not have that problem. Also, when you're starting with a fresh drop of glue, just grab a tissue and wipe it off. I'm not squeezing it so more's not coming out, but I'm just giving myself a clean slate so I can squeeze out just a little bit. Let this set. Okay, now let's do the top. And like I said, you could have stopped already. I love how this looks. You don't need to be extra, but there is a factor of having it actually lock in your lashes longer and better if you stack them. That's another thing too, is if you have any struggle with them holding, then when you stack them on top of each other, you're like sandwiching your lashes in between, so they really don't go anywhere. Okay, so I have it in my grip. I'm flipping the lash upside down. I'm putting glue on the top of it. When you're doing your top lashes, you can be really more flexible with glue. Like you don't have to use as much, or you could use more and it won't matter. So when I'm looking at the mirror, I'm looking at where the two are meeting so that I can bricklay it. And then make sure that you get the base in first and then push it down. So when you get them in, you'll like get the base in right there, and then you'll just use the top of this. I would close them, don't open it because they'll probably catch on a lash nearby. So close them and then just kind of push them down. But this is why you want your lashes totally dry and set before you do the top lash line. Like sometimes I'll just wear my bottom set for one day, and then the next day I'll stack them. It's just, there's so much flexibility. Putting on glue, I guess, is something I cannot talk through, so sorry. I don't fidget with them a bunch when they're setting because just because of gravity, they'll kind of just set in and like nestle into your lash line. But then after it's sat there for a few minutes, then I'll go back and make it a little bit tackier. Yep, I'm gonna do one more. So I'm doing 3 bunches. I'm almost wondering if I did these out of order, but I don't know, maybe not. Okay, one eye done. See the difference? It's not like dramatic, but for me, it just gives me peace of mind that they're really not gonna go anywhere, and it's just a really full look. So I love it, but it's not anything over the top. You could make it over the top, but I just choose not to. Okay, I'm gonna bust out the other side. Okay, I am all finished. So I did both sides. We stacked the lashes. The other set that I stack, I wanted to show you, is the originals and the weightless 4s. So if you don't like the curl that is more curly like this, and you want something a little bit softer, then this is what I do. And I actually have videos. I've already made a few videos about my lashes, but I've just done them in like short form, so I haven't talked through it, but demonstrating other styles. So this is the weightless number 4s, and this is a cat eye style. And then I stack them with the originals. So I put the originals on top, put the weightless on the bottom. So there's lots of combinations you can do. If you're not wanting to start with something so like glam, then I would recommend using the Sweethearts and the Happy Mediums. I wore this one all the time for a really long time. It's just how it goes on. It's so much softer. Another thing you can do too is you can use your little trimmers and trim the tops. If you feel like it's too long, you can always do that. I would just recommend, instead of like cutting it, holding your lash and cutting it at a square, you want to like cut it at an angle anytime that you can, just because it looks softer and more real and doesn't look like you cut it. So I hope this helped. It's definitely been requested for a really long time. I'll link everything below of where to purchase everything, but it's been my favorite brand for a really long time. And like I said, if the glue isn't working for you, then try different glues before you switch to different lashes, because lots of times that's the problem. But the first time is gonna be the hardest, and then it'll get easier from there. So maybe try it on a Sunday. You don't have as much going on, and so you have some time to be patient, be slow. Because my first time I put these on, it definitely took like 30 minutes. Now I'm down to 10 minutes, no problem. And I'm not like, I don't have any anxiety about it. Like I know what's gonna happen. I know how my lashes work and all of that. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you try them, let me know. If you're having a really hard time with it, you can definitely reach out directly to them, and they do like one-on-ones online, so they can help you with placement and everything. But try my tips first, see what you think. They're my favorite, and let me know.